Let's talk about the moment that every job seeker dreads. You open your inbox, you refresh your LinkedIn messages, you check your phone for voicemails from recruiters, and all you get back are crickets. You've applied to dozens of jobs, maybe even hundreds. Maybe you're even like that client of mine where it was 1,800. You've updated your resume. You followed the tips. You're doing everything right. And still silence. But here's what most job seekers never hear. Your passions and interests aren't just hobbies, they're job search tools. And today I'm going to show you exactly how to use them to build momentum, energy, and real traction in your search. Welcome to Squash Those Crickets. Use your passions to power your job search. So, I know a lot of you are here on replay, and some of you are actually catching this live, and I am glad you are here either way. Now, I already kind of dropped this ahead of the game, but I want to tell you about John. When we first spoke, he'd applied to 1,800 jobs. Yes, 1,800 jobs. And all he had to show for it was silence, or actually crickets, because we don't have silence in the summer in the South. We have crickets. So what changed? We stopped trying to force fit him into roles he didn't want and started using his passions as a way to reconnect, reset, and re-energize his entire job search. Have you ever felt like the more jobs you apply to, the less progress you make? If you feel that way, I'd like you to let me know. You can let me know in the comments. You can let me know in the DMs. But tell me, yes, Wendy, me. I feel like the more jobs I apply to, the less progress I make. This is a signal, not a failure. And today I'm going to give you 3 ways to use your passions and interests to squash those crickets and bring people back into your search. People, not crickets. So first of all, people hire people, not resumes. And the fastest way to get in front of real humans is through shared interests. Whether you love AI, data ethics, gaming, green tech, whatever it is, there are people out there already in the space talking about it, building things around it. Your job is to join the conversation. So how do you use it? Comment on LinkedIn posts in your interest areas. Reach out to people in those communities. Bring your curiosity into the room. It opens doors. And I will say, most people think I'm talking about the space, the tech that you work in. So if you're in CX, it's CX. But if you're in tech, then it's ed tech or biotech or health tech or fintech or whatever your tech is. And you think that's what Wendy means. I actually don't mean that. That's not a bad idea. That's a great idea. Do that. But wait, there's more. What I'm saying is find people on LinkedIn talking about things you are interested in. And find the people talking about those things, writing posts, creating videos, whatever their content form is on LinkedIn that are getting reactions, emojis, and comments. You want to know who those people are, and you want to check them out a couple times a week. And then what you're going to do is you're going to connect with everybody who commented and everybody who emojied. Because those are your people. And here's the deal. Your network is not the people you know. Your network is the people who the people you know. So those second degree connections, and the magic, the power of LinkedIn is that it will show you who the people you know. So connect with humans over shared interests on LinkedIn. And you don't just get those people in your network, you get all the people they know in your network. And some of them can open doors. So, what's one passion of yours that you could use to start a conversation today or join a conversation today? Let me know in the comments or in my DMs. Now, the second thing about passions and interests here is they keep you energized. Your job search is draining your focus and your confidence. And one of the reasons it's doing that is if you're not applying to jobs that you're qualified for, jobs where you have a high chance of being rejected, then you're going to get more rejections as opposed to just no response. And that's going to demoralize you. So stop doing that. Okay? But beyond that, overall, no matter what you're doing, job searching drains focus, drains confidence. Your passions can literally rebuild your energy. They can rebuild your confidence. They can rebuild your mindset. A client of mine spent 30 minutes every morning contributing to an open source project she loved. That one ritual gave her the energy to show up strong in interviews, and it kept her skills sharp. Another client of mine recently built the Wendy bot. The Wendy bot takes everything that I teach and I coach in my job search coaching program, puts it into a chat GPT, and then people can talk to this Wendy-like essence that speaks all the Wendy language, that uses the Wendy templates, that has the Wendy tools, that teaches what Wendy teaches, and it can support them to streamline some of the things that take energy and time in a job search. It's game changing. Well, it's game changing for my clients, but here's the deal. The person who did that and built that, it was game changing for her. And she wrote an amazing post about that. It was just talking to people, seeing the way it impacted them was really, really energizing for her. And it really lit a fire for her own next step in her career. So here's ways that you can use passions and interests to keep you energized. Scheduling small joy rituals, whether it's coding for fun or designing projects or writing or tinkering. Here's one of mine. Yesterday, I went and did something that has nothing to do with revenue for my business. And technically has nothing to do with my great passions, which are bringing together people around my table, around food and conversation and connection. And my other great passion is music. And this wasn't really either one of those. So the Arts and Business Council in Nashville has a program that helps artist entrepreneurs launch their businesses. And yesterday was the time, every year I do this, where they ask people like me who have different kinds of strengths and wisdom for entrepreneurs to basically coach participants on their pitches, because there's this big pitch competition coming up in September. I have to tell you, I got home from 5 hours of doing that and listening to these artists, most of them art, not music art, but some music art. And I got home from that and I had the most amazing, productive, creative session for my own marketing and sales when I got home last night. It was just so powerful. So there are all different ways you can create joy rituals, whether it's me and my songwriters rounds or having people over for a meal, whatever it is. Schedule those small joy rituals. They work. And let your interests remind you who you are, not just what you do, because that is game changing when you're in conversations in a job search. Completely game changing. So I want to know, what's one activity you do that instantly lifts your energy? No job posting required. So drop that in the comments. Let me know in my DMs. Now, the third piece of this puzzle is that your passions and interests can make you memorable in applications and interviews. That's actually why the LinkedIn profile has superpowers for job seekers, because it's way more than a resume. So your experience section, if you have a strong resume, is going to have the exact same bullets: strong active verb, measurable result. Okay, but that is just one little piece of the puzzle. There is also all the rest of the LinkedIn profile. And that's where you get to shine. That's where you get to show who you are. People hire people they like. Humans are making the decisions, not robots. I'm sorry. Human beings. So, yes, they use machines to tell you that they're not going to interview you or that you aren't getting the offer, but humans are making these decisions, and humans hire people they like. So yesterday I was looking at a client's LinkedIn profile, and they love going climbing. So their background image now is a climbing wall. They hadn't had their headshot photo updated in a hot minute. This is a guy, he's got facial hair. The old photo, he didn't have facial hair. The old photo, he looked like he was like 15. He was probably 25. But now, he needs a photo that looks like him. Okay. But another thing, I'm going to give you an added tip because I'm going rogue today, is that in your about section where you tell the story of why you do what you do, any pivots in your career that are relevant to what you're going after now that kind of explain, oh, I used to do this and now I do that. The last paragraph of your about section, and all these paragraphs are super short, no more than 3 sentences, probably no more than 3 lines. But the last one, super short. When I'm not doing whatever it is that you do for a living, I do these 3 things. They're completely different 3 things. That way you get people, you hook people through your passions and interests. What are mine? I keep score at baseball games. I've done it since I was 12 years old. I'm a classical choral soprano. And I host dinner salons where I'm bringing together people in tech and people in music. Okay, so let's think about why I chose those, because those aren't my only interests. They're not my only passions. Keeping score at baseball games. I get all the sports fans. Back in the day when my LinkedIn profile was about my career as an executive, and then as a management consultant, what it did is it told sports fans, and usually I was the only woman in the room, so it told men who were sports fans that they could talk about sports to me. Because if you keep score at baseball games, you know a lot about baseball. And if you know a lot about baseball, you can probably have a conversation about the other sports. I now live in a state that doesn't have a Major League Baseball team. So when people meet me and they find out about the keeping score at baseball games, usually the next question is, hey, do you watch football? Do you watch college sports? Because that's what's big around here. Okay, so that's one group. What about all the people who don't care about sports? Well, I've got the artists and the musicians with classical choral soprano. So that works. Perfect. So then what about that small percentage of the population that hates sports, art, and music? Well, if there are any humans like that, bless their hearts. What are we going to do about that? Well, that's where I talk about the dinner salons. I used to actually talk about cooking with bacon and butter, but I can't eat bacon anymore. And now I actually want my LinkedIn profile to reinforce these salons that I have, where I'm gathering intentionally people into a community for human connection. And so that's why I want to talk about that. But it's kind of interesting, tech, music, food, so it gets people's attention if you don't care about the other stuff. So you want to definitely share who you are on that LinkedIn profile. It does make you memorable. And I'll tell you, people will use it. I was interviewing in the 12,000 interviews I've done in my life. At one point, I had a client that I was tripling their sales organization as part of leading their talent strategy. Who do we need to get where we need to go? And those are the kinds of very strategic things I did in that consulting firm. But sometimes I also did some of the nuts and bolts of the hiring processes, including building the interview process and the scoring rubrics and all those things. So sometimes I actually was doing the interviewing. Since I'd done thousands and thousands and thousands of interviews, that was useful. So one day I'm on a call with the sales guy, and he had done what you should do when you're getting interviewed. He'd looked at the LinkedIn profile of the lady that was interviewing him. That would be me. And he saw the reference to keeping score at baseball games. So he asked me the best question I've ever been asked on a job interview. He said, I saw that you've been keeping score at baseball games, most of your life. Tell me, what is your favorite game you ever kept score at? I was blown away. Let me tell you, it really didn't matter what else he said in his answers to that interview. He was going to get moved to the next round, hands down, because of that was really impressive, particularly for somebody in sales or business development. Really, really, really amazing connection skills. And then I was like, okay, so that's amazing. Gold stars for him. Oh my God, I have to answer the question. And I thought about it, and I realized that my favorite game of all time that I kept score at was not a game I attended. The only time I kept score at a game I watched on TV was Cal Ripken Jr.'s last All-Star game. It was in Seattle. I actually spent the ridiculous amount of money and got the Ripken jersey. That's the game where he was playing third, and but he'd been a great shortstop, and A-Rod was supposed to start at short, and A-Rod came out and basically took Cal by the hand and moved him to short. And they planned this, and it was a great moment, and they wanted Cal to have the honor of playing in the position he played historically, not the position he was elected to the All-Star game for, and the one that he was currently playing. It was a really beautiful moment, but I kept score of that game, watching it on television in my home in San Francisco. My second favorite is probably the one where we were right behind home plate at the Giants ballpark, and Barry Bonds was still playing, and when he was in the batting circle getting ready for his at bat, and there was music playing, and I was standing up, and I had a beer in one hand and a scorebook in the other, and he looked at my then boyfriend, and he was like, dude, scorekeeping girl, you got it. So those are my two favorite scorekeeping stories. Anyway, telling those stories on your LinkedIn about the things that you do help people connect with you. Okay. It can also come in as far as passion-driven projects and interviews. If the company does anything that aligns with your passions, you've got to tell them that, because that might be the difference between you getting the job and you not getting the job, or you are 85% qualified and somebody's 95% qualified, but you have the passion for what they do. Tell them that you have that passion. So I want to know if you've ever shared a passion in an interview, or are you unsure about how to bring it up? Let me know in the comments or in my DMs. Now, I want you to get a pen and a piece of paper, or a pencil and a piece of paper, and I want you to take some notes. I want you to take 60 seconds right now and make a list. One passion or interest you love. One way it could help your network. One way it could boost your energy. One way it might help you stand out. I'm going to change that. You can have 4 different passions, 3 different passions. But I want a passion that can help you with your build your network. I want a passion that can boost your energy, and a passion that might help you stand out. Maybe there's one that's all 3, but for most people, they're going to be different passions. And hopefully you have a whole life and you have more than one thing you love. So we want a passion that helps you build your network, a passion that boosts your energy, and a passion that helps you stand out. Okay, share those with me in the comments or in the DMs, and I want to know which one of those 3 categories really jumped out at you today. The building your network part of the passions and interests, the boosting your energy, or the standing out. Now, I want to tell you, and I don't want to hurt your feelings, but this training wasn't just for you. I know you know someone who's sending out applications, hearing nothing, and quietly burning out. Share this post, tag someone who needs to hear it. Be a good human, help them. Let's get this conversation to people who feel stuck and don't know where to turn. And if you are ready to build a strategy around who you are and not just what your resume says, I'd love to work with you. Book a free clarity call. We'll map it out. What's keeping you stuck, how to bring your interests back into the process, and how to finally move your search forward with confidence. You don't need to apply harder. You need to apply smarter. And your passions might be the smartest asset you haven't been using. Let's go squash some crickets.